Welcome to Climbing the Immune Ladder Steps for Success in Science, iiSIAR podcast. The show where we will explore inspiring experiences in science and untold stories shaping our community. Today, we will be your host. I am Salma Rizo, postdoctoral fellow at the University of Montreal in Canada, and
I'm Shahar Levy. I'm a PhD candidate in the molecular pathway and resolution of inflammation in Haifa University in Israel.
In each episode, we will dive deep into conversations with experts on innate immunity, sterile inflammation, autoimmunity, and resolution to bring you insights, ideas, and inspiration you won't hear anywhere else. Whether you're tuning in during your morning coffee or your evening walk, get ready to learn, laugh, and see the world from new perspectives. Let's get started. Today's expert is Elvira Mass, professor from University of Bonn in Germany. Thanks for joining us and welcome to our podcast.
Thank you for inviting me, guys.
Could you please tell us a bit more about your line of research, please?
Right. So I'm the professor for developmental biology of the immune system, and that already tells you what we're actually working on. And we're particularly interested in the macrophage. So we all love macrophages in the lab, and we want to know how they develop and how they contribute to tissue function during development, but also during adulthood, and how these cells that are, of course, immune cells and important for infections, how they deal with the normal day-to-day life that we have.
So, what initially drew you to the field of immunology? I know you have background in molecular biology. How did you get to immunology?
Right. So I actually did my PhD in developmental biology. I worked on heart development. So I never touched an immune cell before my postdoc in Frederick Geismann's lab. We went to, back then we were in King's College in London, and then the lab moved to New York. And this is actually what was the strength, because back then, the fact that macrophages stems from yolk-sac progenitors was new. So from a developmental perspective, this was a complete paradigm shift. So the Janeway has been rewritten since then. And this is where I kind of could give my developmental biology perspective into the immunology world, and that's what really was driving me to go into this world.
And do you think you had any pivotal moment that shaped your journey, if planned or not planned?
Well, I think that something that will always shape your way is who you meet and with whom you talk. And this, I was lucky enough that I was always surrounded by excellent people who could give me some insights into their world and how my next step would be by leaving me still the opportunity to choose. And I think having an immunologist on my PhD committee was something that was pivotal to my career, who told me, hey, why don't you look at Frederick Geismann's work? What he's doing is really cool. And then, you meet certain people in life that kind of by accident make you end up where you are today.
So, beyond any scientific curiosity, is there any personal motivation that drives your work in immunology, like treatment development or anything like that?
Right. So personally, we work on different type of projects, and we're very interested into the environmental factors that surround us and can impact our immune system, and particularly macrophages. And one big thing that's dear to my heart is that we are surrounded by plastics, microplastics, nanoplastics, etc. So that's my personal kind of take to this. This was my ERC starting grant. I came up with a crazy idea and that funded, lucky for me and lucky for the macrophage world, I think. So we're trying to really understand how microplastics, that's of course, once it enters the body, is taken up by macrophages, because these are the big eaters and everything, and what it does to our organs. And that's something that, you think about it a lot, but then actually can do something about it to understand what's driving maybe the disease behind this uptake of this plastic. Yes, so that's one big personal, let's say, take here.
Amazing. You've been telling us about your project throughout your career, but could you highlight a key discovery or project that you're most proud of, and how do you believe it impacts our field?
Right. Maybe I can name two.
Perfect.
So one maybe from my postdoc work, because this was, and I did not know back then. I did not realize. I only realized when I came back to Germany, becoming a PI myself, that we actually discovered that macrophages can be causative for disease. Because until that point, I think people have been thinking that they're more contributing or bystanders or just responders, and on the way to getting rid of this M1 and 2 dichotomy in vivo, we were finally kind of at the point where we could say, yes, if we now mutate microglia and their precursors, this can cause neurodegeneration. And somebody here in Germany, actually at the German Center for Neurodegeneration, told me this back in 2017, that, your study is actually the first one showing this, because now everybody works on Alzheimer's and microglia and everything. But until then, it's not a cause. It has not been a cause. So that was I think my first retrospective big step here. And then we recently published a paper showing that maternal obesity will program macrophages in the liver, the so-called Kupffer cell, and that this will have persistent effects, and that this will be the cause for fatty liver disease in the offspring. So another pathway, another organ, but again showing that macrophages are not only contributing but really causing disease. So I think these two stories now come very nicely together at the end.
Yeah, it's very interesting that the metabolic inflammation is in the mother actually is causing problems in the offspring.
Right. It has been actually shown, and it's not unheard of that metabolic uh, status of the mother causes disease in the offspring. It has been shown for the first time in the Dutch hunger winter. There is a clear correlation between the famish of 2 to 3 months, and then because people did not have any food to eat, right? So the females were pregnant back then, and then all the diseases that were correlated to that. But again, that's only correlation. The same was done by a UK study. Back then is actually David Baker, who established the hypothesis of developmental origins of health and disease. So this has been around for a while, that what the mother eats will have an impact on the offspring, but there has not been, let's say, a cellular target, right? So it has been like tissue studies and epigenetic studies, and it has been validated in human babies and non-human primates that fatty liver disease in young, let's say, animals or babies can come from obesity in the mother. But to really pinpoint a cell, and especially an innate immune cell to that, which is long-lived, you need to be long-lived to convey this message. This was very interesting to see that this works like that.
That's interesting. Like, what's your process for identifying high impact research questions like this one?
Right. So again, I'm driven more by the development, and I'm really thinking as a developmental biologist that every disease stems from a developmental process. So whatever we have seen in utero, whatever somatic mutation we carry with us, that this will be with us for all our lives. Now, maybe we can control that a bit. There are many twin studies, right, showing that the one twin develops disease, the other not. So I think this is an environmental factor that comes with it. But at the end of the day, I'm trying to look at many questions like that and see also what scientifically would also make sense to study to make an impact. Yeah, so to have an idea, and this idea of the maternal obesity developed already during my postdoc time, and to see it coming to life in many, many years, but still it is very really satisfying at this point. And I do not think about high impact papers, because I think impact factors of papers are really not helpful at any career stage. Still, we kind of try to publish high impact papers, but it's more about really making an impact on the field. That people have been laughing at me when I was having titles in my talks of the non-immune functions of macrophages. now there is a review by Florent Ginoux and Narendorf, and I don't know who talk about the non-classical functions of macrophages. So it's a concept that's now out there, and I'm happy I could contribute to that. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Amazing. Science is always challenging. So could you share with us which strategies help you to push through these tough scientific challenges that we face through our way?
Yes, science is very challenging. Um, science is science is very challenging, but it's also very satisfying. So every time I hit kind of the ground, and I did that during my scientific life many times, I always had people surrounding me telling me that it will become better and you should not quit. I was about to quit science when I was in my fourth year of PhD. So I was interviewing for other positions already to become a consultant. So just as a side note. But I think that it's the best job in the world. You will have ups and downs. You will be you know, questioning yourself all the time, do you do the right thing? But I think if you think yourself that this is satisfying you at the end of the day and you're very happy to come back to the work every day, then this is the right thing that you're doing. And then, of course, not to go insane, you do need to take care of you, I think, of your health and of, how you deal with all of that. So a lot of sports, let's say, a lot of um, enjoying time also with friends and family belongs to all of this, surrounding stressful world, but I still love it. Doesn't matter how stressful it gets.
That's true.
Can you share with us any crucial decision or opportunity you had that significantly advanced your career?
I think that again, surrounded by certain people who really push you forward, also advances your career. Like I came back to Germany. I was only here for 1 year. I had a contract for 5 years as a group leader. And I only had this little time to kind of find a new position, deep tenure somewhere. And then a year later, a letter flew into my, table, and the dean of another university was like, "Hey, Miss Maas, we're, announcing this professorship in Erlangen. It's in Bavaria, a different part of Germany. And we would love you to, take this call and apply. And we really are looking forward to your application." I was like, this guy doesn't know me, but they are contacting me, and then of course they were headhunting. That's what some universities do in Germany. They headhunt for female scientists because it's always a problem to have enough female professors, right? And then I was like going to my institute's director. I'm like, look, I just came, and he's like, of course you're gonna do this. Like, you don't have a permanent position here, so you go for it. And but nobody believed that I would get the position. I did get the position, by the way. So, this is where accidents happen. I think some person maybe heard about what what I've done in the past, and that I just moved to Germany, and maybe I'm interested, into moving forward. But this was too quick for me personally, but somebody else believed in me, so I just did it, and then it just happened.
Wow, new opportunities. And talking about these new opportunities, how do you evaluate or assess new opportunities while managing existing commitments?
I meet fantastic people at meetings, for instance, and suddenly you come up with a new great idea, and then I come into the lab and I'm like, okay, so who's free? Who can like make my thoughts come true experimentally? So people who do have the capacity, they usually run a few side projects, so we can test certain hypotheses. And typically, I also try to push it into a way that these people are also interested themselves in this. So it's always somehow connected, of course, to their projects. It's not like you put something completely new onto someone, and also they have to follow up their dreams and finish PhDs. But that's why all my people run at least 2 projects in the lab. That's a rule. And then sometimes also postdocs need to run a couple more.
Were there any career moves you initially doubted, but like turned out to be the right choice or even the wrong choice?
Um, so I've never thought too long. I'm very much a gut person, I would say. What I thought I regretted back then is not to move abroad for my PhD, because this is what I really, really wanted, to get out of Germany and to do something new. And didn't do that because of personal reasons, but also because the institute I was doing my PhD in just got funding for PhD fellowships that were really well paid back in the days. So it was like my diploma thesis back then supervisor, he was like, hey, we're having this graduate school, and don't you want to be part of this? And it's really great. And why don't you do this? And this is what I did. And actually, this was very immunology based. I was, I think, one of the outsiders there not doing immunology, but I was already exposed to all of these different, T cells and dot plots. And I was like, okay, what is this? Was a very interesting experience. And I think that already put a seed of immunology already back there, in there, like in the back of my head, which was at the end, I think, a great experience after all. And I was very happy to have done my PhD the way I did it, although it was very difficult and hard and demanding, but I managed. And then from there, I think everything just, went the way it was supposed to.
That's very nice.
And which non-scientific skills you believe have been the most critical in your career progression? And how do you think we can develop them?
Right. So I think my most feared skill in my surrounding is my persistence. So if I really want something, I really go for it, and I really, ask again and again if necessary. And I think that's very, very also appreciated at the end of the day. Yeah, maybe in the beginning people don't like it, but then they know if I do say something, then I will deliver on it, and it's true for any type of situation. And I think also from maybe my personal life, I have been playing a lot of chess during my youth. So a lot of strategies and what is the next move. And I think that at some point you internalize this way of thinking. I do not have time to play it right now because, science is very demanding, as you know. But I think I learned a lot in terms of waiting maybe for the right moment now. Not 10 years ago, I was very impatient, but these days I think it's, getting better and better, and to wait for the best strategic moment to move into a certain scientific direction is also important to get a feeling what will be the next, 10 years of science.
How do you stay current with scientific advancement and continuously foster any professional growth, like adding new ideas or like anything like that?
Yeah, I exited my life in X, previously Twitter. So before that, that was actually my way to get all the updates, because basically all scientists paste their new papers and they're excited and preprints and everything. So that was a very good way to get a very fast overview of what's new and what one should maybe follow up in more detail. Now it has been moving to more, like LinkedIn, for instance, is also now getting more and more. Blue Sky as well. So I'm trying to get these platforms going and try to read them on a regular basis to get an overview, because one does not have the time to read a journal, right? If you open up just, Unity or Nature and just go through things, I do get a lot of alerts by email. So I have, of course, Google Scholar alerts, PubMed alerts. This is how you try to get an idea of what's happening in the world. But we are so broad. So we study different tissues, the brain, the liver, the adipose tissue. We work on different diseases, metabolic diseases, infections. So it's overwhelming. The amount of amazing like the amazing work that has been done out there is yeah, you cannot follow everything. It's impossible. I think the best strategy here is to really go to meetings, because there you hear the most, prominent science in your field, but also a lot of meetings I go to, they actually show unpublished data. So you already know what's going to come in the next years. You discuss the posters with students from different labs, so you know what these labs are working on. So that's a very good source. It's very intense, but it's very good source. So choose 1 or 2 meetings per year that are very intense, but I think that gives you the most input in that sense.
That's true. And what skills do you feel are often overlooked, yet essential for success, both in science overall or specifically in immunology?
Right. So what is overlooked? I think precision is very important in any wet lab scientific career. To be rigorous about things and to be precise is very, very important. To know what you're doing on a daily basis, but then not to lose oversight over the whole thing. And I think that is where I try to always get my people out of their hole, their rabbit hole that they dig themselves into, and to always try to push them back and ask, so what is the big picture now? And I think that is something that one can learn for sure, and that will drive your career or your scientific project forward.
So what's the most valuable piece of career advice you've ever received?
I've received so many good advice from so many different people. I think the best thing I got to hear, and I heard it many times, and this must be true, to relax more. No, because you get very tense about certain things, right? You really fight for them, whatever. And I think also to, again, just to take a step back and to kind of breathe in what you have achieved and to enjoy the moment for a little bit longer is what I think the advice I will try to take as much as possible from now on.
And if you need to share an advice, personal advice with someone that is just starting in the field, what would it be? What would it be?
My personal advice to any person is to really choose your partner well, because you're, as a scientist, so you, as a person who really loves science, you will be always in love with science and in love of being at work, because it does not feel like work. And it's very important that you have a partner, if you have a partner that understands. And I think that is often the major point where people drop out of science, because they have too much pressure from home, no support from family, not only partner, but also family that you are surrounded with. Make your parents understand what you're doing, why it is important, why you maybe cannot come to that one birthday. It's sometimes it just happens. And if you have people around you that understand you and your passion for science, that's, I think, the most important thing that make you also successful. That's why I'm telling that to everybody in my lab.
So, how do you navigate the demands of a high-profile scientific career while maintaining a healthy work-life balance, besides just relaxing?
Right. So work-life balance is a wording that I think your generation invented.
Oh,
I know nobody wants to hear that. I have been asked this for so many times, lunches with PhDs and postdocs. Um, and it has been, I think, in articles many times. It's a framework that has been out there to explain why one would need to go home or have after work hours. But I think that everybody should decide for themselves what that means. So if you're happy to come in at morning 8 and leave at evening 8 because this is what you want to do, you should be doing that. You should not be judged. And people do judge this type of life, right? So everybody should decide what makes them happy. If I go home and I have my life at home, it doesn't mean that I stop working in my head. I do think about things and ideas. I go for a run in the morning. I talk to my friend who's also a professor about, projects, or I go for a swim in the morning, and during swimming I think about, okay, so maybe we should do this differently. So there is no stop to work in that sense. But if this is your not your work but your calling, it doesn't matter. I think the term work-life balance, I would love to kind of, try to give it a different name maybe in the future.
What challenges and like which opportunities do you see for the next generation of scientists like us?
Yeah, so I wish you all the best, guys. No, I'm just kidding. It's tough, huh? It's very tough because I think already in like 10 years ago, the situation was that it's becoming more and more difficult to stay in academia because positions are getting scarce and the competition is immense. Yeah, so everybody that I met, like from my graduate school alone, and we're not that many, I think 6 of them are professors and we're just 50 PhD students. So, this is the level of competition you feel. And then, of course, that's what makes the new generation think, okay, do I have a chance also into that direction? Um, I think the perspectives are still very, very good. It depends on the country. For instance, in Germany, I think in the next 5 to 10 years, there are over 500 uh, more, must be more, even over 1,000 professors that needs to be filled, like professorships that needs to be filled in. So not immunology, of course, but in general, because there's this boomer generation now, and they all worldwide, they will retire. Well, they will retire in Europe because in US you don't have to retire. But in certain countries they will retire, and this boomer generation will give place to the new generation. These are you guys. So this is now, I think, a great opportunity to jump onto this academic kind of path and see what you can do. Maybe if you're not like completely want to be like immersed in only science, there are fantastic lecturer positions. There are intermixed positions between science and being lecturer in different countries, right? I think it's a good place to be right now, but it's tough to choose a topic, I think, because the topics are so diverse and so detailed, and let's just say immunometabolism or cancer, or I can continue. I think that's going to be the tough choice, not getting the position but choosing the right topic that you will burn for the next 30, 40 years.
Talking about the topics, what emerging trends or future directions in immunology excite you the most?
So I think that people realizing that development is very important for any type of immune cell, be it a T cell, be it an ILC, be it a mast cell, whatever you can name there. I think that is what is exciting me. And I think that we can at one point maybe come together and think about what common mechanisms they may be, right? Like conveying information from one time point to the next. This is true for many immune cell types, and that is something that's very exciting. Or what you eat today may have an impact what kind of disease you develop in 20 years. I think this is something that people started to work on already in many labs, and many people are now jumping on this microplastic topic as well. So how does it, there are many things that we are exposed to. We don't understand what it means to our immune system in 20 years. So I think that is the biggest excitement for now.
We'd love to hear a standout moment from your career, perhaps something lighthearted, surprising, or like out of the ordinary that you feel comfortable sharing with us.
There have been so many moments. That's why it's so difficult to decide, right? So I think one moment that I will never forget is the job offer by Frederick Geismann sitting under the bridge under a very loud train that was going by, and he telling me that I should join his lab and I should come to become a postdoc in his lab. I think that was like, the lunch after being completely nervous and giving a talk, and he's like, you have to come. And I think I would not be here today if this would not have happened. That will always be in my mind in terms of my career. I had many fantastic and ugly moments and funny moments, I think, like jumping in labs and dancing and doing experiments to Beethoven.
How do you see, like, with the emergence of AI and machine learning models, like the process of showing data and explaining the research?
Yeah, so I think AI has a lot of potential for the immunology field in general, but it also harbors some, you know, problems in the long run, because I can feel it myself. You sometimes rely on a quick response maybe by AI, and it may or may not be correct. So I'm sometimes trying things out, asking things that I know the answer to, and I know that this is the AI part. Now, machine learning for science, I think is fantastic, and we need it. We are using small scripts already to understand how tissues behave, how cells interact. I think this will be very important, and I'm trying to push also my students to learn how to program and how to use these tools. However, I think there will be still a need for the specialists. So you will need to have PIs, professors who are very focused on this part of machine learning and AI, and they will need to interact with immunologists. And I think it's very difficult to combine both worlds by now, because it's getting so complicated to make sure that it works properly. But I think now they're so intertwined, it's going to be difficult to, go without it in the long run.
Um, Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, guys. It was pretty fun.
So that's a wrap for today's episode of Climbing the Immune Ladder, Steps for Success in Science, the iiSIAR podcast. A huge thanks to Professor Elvira Mass for sharing her insights, stories, and experiences with us. We hope you found this conversation as inspiring and thought-provoking as we did. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to join us on the next episode and share it with anyone who might benefit from it. You can also follow us on our webpage to stay updated on future episodes and innate immunity updates. Thank you for listening, and remember, persistence and asking the right questions are what drives science, and maybe even your own journey. Until next time, stay curious.